So far, we have talked about your unique design, how it's not average, and we've also talked about your unique design, how it's made to handle certain types of pain, particularly the pain of your passions. Right? And now I want to tell you in this session that your unique design is ready to make an impact now. Now, where I live, outside of Austin in Leander School District, I'm about to drop a bad stat in a minute here, but I'm proud to be a part of that community. Leander Independent School District had something very sad occur this year. It's a number that no school district ever wants to break, and that is it had a record number of suicides, student suicides. One middle school student took his life. 4 high school students took their life, all from the same high school. Devastating. It made some national news. It definitely made the local news. And parents and educators are all coming together to talk about what's going on, how do we address this, right? Because listen, your schools and your teachers, they mean well, and they're doing the best they can. But at the end of the day, a school is there to educate. So a school wants to address that problem by bringing in classes and having you go through more workbooks and courses. And we know that that's maybe 10% of the answer, because education is an important factor here, but it's not 90%. We realize that in order to address this issue, it has to be grassroots, meaning students have to step up. Because when we break down why a suicide might occur, there's a number of different reasons. There's depression, and now statistically, 1 in 5 of you in this room right now are struggling with depression. And I want you to know if that's you, that's normal, and there is a way out. This isn't going to be like this forever. It will not be like this forever. Okay? But you do need to communicate how you're feeling with somebody. Otherwise, you kind of remain enslaved to it. So there's depression, there's anxiety, there's just the pressure from school, family lives. You know that most people today are, most teens your age don't live in the home with both biological parents. You have some sort of blended family, usually a stepmom, or stepdad, and you have kind of stepbrothers and sisters. And now that, the norm is that your step-parents aren't really married, they're living together, and they may date for a few years, break up. Mom or dad may go date somebody else who also has kids. And so you have this whole new dynamic, and behind grades, it's the number 2 pressure and stressor for kids 12 to 18 is dealing with yet another new set of stepbrothers and sisters. I get it. There's a lot of dynamics at play. Okay? But it's creating this pressure, and you're not finding a whole lot of outlets, way out. And who's the best? Who would be the best at knowing what you're thinking and what you're going through in life? Would it be mom or dad? Would it be the teacher? Would it be a school counselor who you never even talk to unless you have to figure out what courses you're taking? Or would it be your closest friends? It's your closest friends. That's where you come in. And I got to tell you that I'm going to tell you about a group from Leander High School, this one senior, okay, and a nonprofit he started as a senior called Amari Outreach. Dude, he saw the problem. He saw the suicides. He saw the depression, and he was one of those high school guys that are like, look, I know nobody's expecting me to do jack, but I cannot sit by and watch this happen. I got to get involved. So he got a group of students who also cared about this problem, circled them together, asked for a teacher's support and help, and he started not just a school club, but a nonprofit organization. And his nonprofit organization is there to help shed light into this area of mental illness, depression, anxiety. And so what students can do is they can text any question to this number, and with Amari Outreach, They'll pair them with licensed counselors who will respond. It's totally anonymous. You can text in a question anonymously, and you can get advice and support from a real counselor, and nobody needs to know anything. It's brilliant. And that was from a high school guy. And then I met a middle school girl who started a nonprofit. I was so impressed with this 6th grade girl that she had a sibling that was sick, went to Dell Children's Hospital in Austin. And as she was in the hospital, she looked around and saw that these kids didn't have a lot to do. They were literally, a lot of them were dying. Cancer, leukemia, some of them were in there in extended periods of time in some really difficult situations, kind of like the trauma unit for kids. And although Dell Children's does a great job at kind of trying to have them have some sort of normalcy and fun, they don't get a lot of outside support, visitors, activities, stuff like that. So this girl said, I'm going to start a nonprofit that brings fun into the hospital. I'm gonna gather supplies, art supplies, crafts. I'm gonna bring people in, and we're gonna help these kids have fun with however long they have left. In 6th grade. And she wouldn't stop. She wouldn't stop. I can tell you how many obstacles were in her way, and she didn't stop. A girl is about to graduate now. Ministry still exists. Her nonprofit still exists. So again, these aren't the exceptions to the rule. Guys, there's not a single one of you in this room that isn't capable of doing those things. You're just lazy. So, I want to urge you and say this. Your unique design is not just made to make an impact now, it's desperately needed. Like lives really do depend on it. And I know if you've known anyone who's ever committed suicide or attempted suicide, I know the chatter. It's easy to chalk it up and say, oh, well, yeah, that kid was weird, or that person was struggling with stuff, or yeah, no, I totally get how they would. Why do we talk like that? These are just normal people that have struggles and nobody's there to help. And it could have been, and for many people that thought about suicide but didn't end up doing it, will tell you that one person, one of their peers, who spoke something positive and encouraging into their life, stopped them. Stopped them. That's all it took. So I want to help you be able, in this session, to identify where you might be able to have an impact, what your calling might be. Now, if you grew up in church, that word calling, I hate it, I love it. It's got all kinds of preconceived notions on what it is. But a calling is just simply an urge to do something, right? And it could be as simple as you get up in the morning and your stomach's grumbling. Whoa, the Lord is calling me to eat breakfast. We don't have to over-spiritualize that, but that's an urge. It's like I have a physical urge to do something. Some things might not be a physical urge. They might be in your head, your heart, emotional, that, you're kind of like, it's Mother's Day coming up. Man, I should really do something sweet for my mom, or guys, fellas, I should at least write a card and say something nice, because I haven't done that in a long time. That's an urge. It's a nudge. It's something that's going on inside you. And yeah, that's a calling. You're being called. You're getting nudged to go do something. So I want you to just have that in the back of your head, and then I just want to talk about, there's 2 types of callings. There's a general and there's a specific. So here's a general calling, all right? If you're a Christian, your general calling is the 2 greatest commandments. Love God, love others. It's that simple. That's ultimately what we're here to do. I mean, we learned in these earlier sessions that God, that we are a reflection of God, that He's given us spiritual gifts, talents, and more, so that we can, in our own unique way, kind of represent who He is. And so this general calling is to take that and do it as we love Him and love others. Obey. That's what you heard from Pastor Homer. Obey. It's hearing and then doing. That's the combination. right? And then if you're not really a Christian, everybody, see, the beauty of general and specific calling is everybody has them. This isn't a religious thing. If you're not a Christian, and no matter where you live in the world, your general calling typically is summed up in, I want to do good. I know I'm supposed to do good. I don't know what good looks like because I don't have any perception of who a creator or God might be. But good in my own terms, I know I'm supposed to do that. That's your general calling. And so we get down to what does that look like specifically? Well, first let me tell you that Ecclesiastes 3:11, written by Solomon, one of the wisest men to ever live this earth, says this. It's talking about God. He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the human heart. Yet no one can fathom what God has done from beginning to end. What does that mean? Ultimately just means that whole desire that we all have to really ultimately not want to die, to live, to want to live even forever, that was put there by God. Because that's the number one thing, that's the magnet in us that's supposed to draw us to these bigger questions. Why am I here? Where do I belong? What does it matter? Who is God? How did I get here? That was put in there by God to draw you to Him. Okay? So that's what Ecclesiastes says. All right? But as Christians, we when we break down this idea of specific calling, we kind of get afraid that we're going to miss a calling. Dude, the only way you can miss a calling is by doing nothing at all. I'll explain that. But you don't. We honestly miss callings all the time. You know what I mean? It's like at this very camp right here, you have walked past somebody that was sitting alone by themselves, and something in you said, "Oh man, I should go talk to them, get to know them, see if they're doing okay." But you were with your friends and you kept walking. Missed calling. Right? That was an urge. It was a prompt. Right? So we ignore these things all the time. Like mom tells you to, she's nagging you to do the chores, and you're like, man, I know I need to do a better job listening to mom, but right now I'm too entrenched in, Instagram and Snapchat or, this video game, and so I'll get to it later. Right? Yeah, there's a nudge. You're supposed to be present, active, and moving, but you ignore it. You suppress it, and you're built. And here's the scary part, guys. Look at me. What you're doing now is building lifelong habits. You're going to spend most of your teen years suppressing these urges, and then all of a sudden you get kicked out of the house. You're in the real world, whether you go to college or not, and you're asking yourself, I don't know what I should be doing or where to go, because you've spent the first 20 years of your life ignoring those nudges, ignoring God speaking to you. It's no wonder that most people graduate and have no clue what they want to do. So all that to say this. Yes, God, like in Acts, like in Paul's life, I bring back Paul into this, God can supernaturally show up and speak to you audibly. He can show himself to you. He can reveal something to you in a dream. That happens. A supernatural God can do that, and that's a blatant calling. We'll call that a shouting, right? But that's not the norm. Personally, I've never had that happen. I know people who have, but I have not ever had that happen. It's not the norm. Okay? So aside from that, what is the norm? How do we learn? So how does this happen for most of us? How do we understand and grasp the idea of what a specific calling might look like? Well, you've kind of been given the clues so far. God gave you spiritual gifts. He's given you natural talents. He's given you a personality type, life experiences, all these pieces. And then he's put you in a specific region, your city. He's put you in a specific neighborhood, a specific school, your mission field. And so you take the opportunities before you, and within your mission field, he's given you a groups of people. It could be clubs, it could be sports teams, it could be anything. And that's it. He's already put you where you need to be. He's already given you what you need to have. Well, why? My question is, why aren't the most impactful people on earth teenagers? It's not a matter of you don't have time. You might think you're busy and don't have time. Oh, trust me, talk to any adult in this room. You have time. So why aren't teenagers the most impactful people on planet Earth? The chain is still around your mind. So let's get that chain off. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to look down the aisle. You have these white Post-it, these cards. I want you to take one and pass it down the aisle. So everybody has a white card. And on one side of that card, I want you to take a few minutes and I want you to write down 7 of these urges that you think you may have. Now, urges could be big, they could be small. I felt an urge, I felt this potential urge to be a doctor one day, to be a professional athlete. I have this urge to write a book. I have this urge to start a club. I thought about starting a club once in school. I thought about, I have this urge to want to get more involved in church. I have this urge to really want to do a better job of following my parents' lead and respecting their authority more. It could be anything. 7 urges you've had.